Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 418. We're going to head out to the North Dakota today, in Fargo to be exact, and connect with Nick and Kelsey Deutz. Now, this is interesting, folks, because when you listen to the show, you find out that Kelsey has been a hunter ever since she was a little girl. Her dad took her out, and she did drives and everything that us guys, quote unquote, have done. Well, she did it, and along comes Nick, and all of a sudden they got married and they start hunting. And it's a great story about how a young lady, got a hold of her man and told him, this is how we're going to hunt. Hi, this is Bruce Hutchin, your host at Whitetail Rendezvous. We're heading up to Fargo, North Dakota, and people might wonder, what are we doing in Fargo? This is a whitetail show. Well, folks, Nick and Kelsey Deutz are going to tell us all about why they live in Fargo and kill some big bucks. So, Nick and Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bruce. Hi. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's exciting to have you guys, and Nick and I had a good chat before you showed up, Kelsey. And let's just start off with you, Kelsey, because folks, this is a little different setup, because usually it's the guy, it's the husband, significant other that gets his girlfriend, wife, whatever, into hunting. Now, that isn't how this all worked out, was it?
No, it's kind of the opposite in our situation.
Yeah,
well, tell us about
it. I was a waterfowl hunter, met Kelsey, and her and her dad had six or seven big bucks in their garage, and I kind of like, well, those are pretty nice bucks. And then I got a bow, and I started bow hunting, and ever since then, we just can't quit.
So, Kelsey, talk to me about the hunting tradition with your dad and how you grew up hunting.
Yeah, ever since I can remember, 3-4 years old, I was always out hunting with my dad during rifle season, and he always brought me. And back in those days, everybody kind of pushed things, so I would be out there, about the same height as the grass, walking through there trying to push deer out for my dad and uncles and stuff. So ever since then, I did that, and then we practiced shooting when I got older and did the hunter safety, and just kind of went from there. I got a tag, and we were hunting partners from then on.
Now, when did you take up archery?
That's after I met Nick. He did kind of get me into that. Before, I just rifle hunted with my dad.
Okay. So how did that come to be, the archery part?
I just really like bow hunting, I guess. I would target practice, and we went out one year and, with really no effort and didn't know what we were doing, and I just tried it. And ever since then, from day one, I got addicted to it. And then she's like, well, I'll try it. And then so we got her hooked on it. And so now every fall we're bow hunting rather than gun hunting, and it's an addiction. It's replaced hockey, and it's just a full time. I like archery and what it entails rather than just gun hunting. I almost think gun hunting, like I said earlier, is a tradition of North Dakota, and it's what someone and families and people are always going to do, which is fine. But I think the idea of bow hunting really is what hunting is. You've got to scout. You've got to, the wind's got to be right. Your stand placement's got to be right. And I mean, these big bucks aren't big bucks for no reason. And it's a cat and mouse game. And you just can't show up one day, and you might be able to just show up one weekend and shoot a big buck. But if you want to do it year over year, you really got to learn your land. You got to manage your deer. You got to, understand how they move throughout your land. And that's kind of what I really liked about the bow hunting aspect of it rather than the hunt. And so that's kind of where we're at today and why we're so addicted to it.
Another thing that enticed me to do it as well, though, is the lottery system here. I didn't get drawn one year, so I liked the idea of being able to buy the bow tag over the counter, so I was guaranteed a deer every year, or the opportunity to go hunting every year.
So let's talk about that, Nick. We said in the warm-up we were going to talk about out of state. So if somebody wants to come from out of state into North Dakota archery hunting, what do they have to do?
Yeah, they can get the tag online, NorthDakotaGameandFish.com to buy the license, or they can pick it up at any game and fish store in North Dakota, like, Fleet Farm or Shields or Cabela's up in Grand Forks. They can get a tag that way. I believe it's right around 260, 270, so it's not that expensive compared to like an Iowa tag or Kansas tag like that. And then the gun, they can also apply for the lottery for gun tag, but that's a lottery, like I said, and challenging to get for out of state.
Now, as a non-resident, if I came up there, how is there public land, or because I don't know anybody, I don't know any farmers.
Right.
So how would you find out the places?
Yeah, that is one great thing I think about the North Dakota Game and Fish and its support system for public land and out-of-state hunters. They have a plots program that they have with the farmers. They have, WPA's waterfowl production areas. They got wildlife management areas you can hunt. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres in North Dakota that are open to public hunting. And if you find the right spot, there are good bucks. And that's one thing we do is scout public land ourselves, and try to find areas that don't get hunted or have high pressure and find big bucks. It's something I do every year. I usually go north to the Pembina Gorge way up by Walhalla. There's great deer up there, and it's great deer hunting. And it's different country than what I'm used to, too. It's, like we talked about in the pre-show of what the land is like here. It's not like Iowa or Kansas where you got big, thick woods and pinch points and ridges. But if you go north up there, it is like that, and there's some pretty good deer up there. So we try to do that every year, and if we have a good one on our own land, we'll hunt our own land, and if we don't, then we'll try something else like public land. So North Dakota Game and Fish does a great job allowing public hunters to come in.
Now, size of the bucks, age class of the bucks. If somebody says, "Hey, I want to go to North Dakota," what could they expect to see? Are we talking 150s? Are we talking 5.5-year-old deer? Kind of talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, it's not Iowa, it's not Kansas Giants. However, there are a few every year that are that big. On average, you're going to see a lot of 130s, 135s, 140s, that range. And this is kind of our land speaking. And every year we'll have 3 or 4 right around 150, 155, and then you get the 1 or 2 bucks that are pushing 5.5 years old at 170, 175. Her dad's got, one deer on the wall that's 175 and a bunch of 155, 160s. And same here, we got a couple 160s, 140s. There's good deer. And if managed a little bit better, I think it could be a lot better. And I think the Game and Fish is going that route. Like I said, they went from one extreme to the other. And in 2000, early 2000s, 2005, 6, they were giving out hundreds and thousands of tags, and they've cut that in half now with the lottery system. So the deer herd's coming back. We're starting to see more quality deer. And her dad would be a testament to this because he's been around the land for 40 years on the farm there. He's seen the deer herd, be great. He's seen it be terrible, and now he's seeing it come back.
Kelsey, what's the size of the deer that you've taken over, with your dad?
The biggest one would be what was that one that I got in 2015?
What about the other one?
My first one that I got?
Yeah, her first one's a 151. She shot that when she was 14 in the youth hunt.
So that was the first deer that I ever shot. I think the biggest one.
No way.
Yeah,
the first one?
Deer.
Oh,
yep.
That's cheating.
20 inches wide, 12-inch tines.
Oh my goodness, you're spoiled.
I was definitely hooked from there.
Wow, you got spoiled early. Holy fright.
I did.
Yeah, he's even got a summer coat. He's like a blonde, light-colored deer.
Nice short hair. It's a gorgeous mount.
Oh, good for you. Is that on your website?
Yep,
yeah,
I believe so.
It is. Yeah, if you were to pull up the website, it's our senior picture.
The senior picture?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Hey, when we're talking about websites and everything, somebody wants to reach out and find about you guys. Where are you on social media, and how do they get to your website?
Yeah, our website is traditionshunting.com. We're on Instagram. We don't use Twitter a whole lot, but we do have an account there. But, we post pretty regularly here on Instagram, which is Hunting Traditions is our tag. And then those are really the only platforms we use. We don't have anything else. So, yeah, we're mainly, if they want to, message us on Instagram is probably the easiest way. It's, like I said, it's the most accessible platform out there. It's engaging. The algorithm, that Instagram has come up with to see the content that you want to see is great. You don't get flooded with stuff you don't want to see. So we spend a lot of time there. You know, we do a lot of learning there too. Guys post stuff and talk about things, and you can learn about equipment and the new stuff that's come out on the market and what works for you and what doesn't. And so we're on there quite often if anyone wants to get a hold of us.
So let's talk about the rolling hills of North Dakota and how you do stand setup. I mean, that's one of the stand placements, the thing that we talked about in the warm up. And so let's talk about that because, ladies and gentlemen, it's not flat like Nebraska or parts of Kansas, but it's just rolling hills, and there's not a lot of trees. Is that correct?
That's correct, and that's exactly what it is. You know, her dad's a cattle farmer, and so we have a lot of pasture land, and he also is an agricultural farmer as well. So there's croplands, and they just tend to find, you know, big marsh grass and rock piles, and they'll sit out in the middle of wherever they feel safe. And you know, we're fortunate to be in the spot we're at, where we have a lot of miles where there's no roads. So really, the only way to get to the middle of these sections are fields where they tend to hide because they're the safest. You can only get to, you know, by foot or four wheeler, or if you own the land, obviously. And that's where they tend to hide out. We found out, you know, doing a lot more scouting during bow season or in the summers prior to bow season. And we find that it's not really the trees that are very scarce in North Dakota, but it's the thick grass and the CRP grounds that they tend to hide in. You know, like you said, we don't have the thick timber like Iowa or Illinois. So, and when it comes to, you know, tree stands or ground blinds, you know, we probably have 6 ground blinds to every one tree stand. We just don't use our tree stands often. And, you know, one learning thing we had about last year's tree stand placement was we obviously get our spring, summer, and fall here and winter. And, you know, when the leaves are gone, you almost can't use the tree stand if it's in the middle of the open because there's just no cover. They'll see you plain as day if you end up hunting in the late season. That was one thing I found out about our tree stand placement was deer could see you from a mile away. No matter what camera you have, if you move and the tree's got no cover, it's a worthless spot. So that was a good learning curve for us there. Another learning incident was, you know, really knowing where their beds are. Because if you can find out exactly where their beds are, you should know where to put your ground blind based off of where they're bedding and where they're eating, especially in the summer, you know, their summer patterns. And North Dakota is one of the earliest seasons opening up September 1st, and you can really catch them in their bachelor groups. They're still full velvet. And if you know where that bedding ground is, you should be able to do a good job of putting your ground blind. And last year, you know, as a prime example of where not to put it, we were probably too close to their bedding grounds, and we just didn't know it. We didn't quite pinpoint where they were bedding. And, you know, after one of our friends did shoot a deer, we found out we were 40 yards from their stand or from their bedding grounds. And we kind of figured that was too close. So this year we kind of got a game plan for where to put it rather than last year. And we hopefully that'll help us put one of our biggest deer down to date. We got a big one on camera here, and we had a shot at him last year, but he blew up this year. He's an 8x6, and he should be a dandy. So
now you told me your hunting area is like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away.
That is correct. So it leaves us
man.
Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights to hunt is about it. We try to get up there as much as we can. You know, we'll take Thanksgiving off and we'll go up there and spend Thanksgiving with the family and hunt up there. And usually, like I said, the best time to probably shoot a buck during bow season here is that first week of September. So, you know, last year we didn't take the full first week off. And sure enough, on Tuesday and Wednesday nights on daylight, we had 2 of our biggest bucks sitting in front of our camera. So I said to the wife, I said, we're hunting the whole first week this year if we don't have one down on the opening weekend. That's for sure.
How do you pull your cards on your camera?
When we drive up there, we pull our cards on our camera, and then we'll check them at the farm, and then, you know, figure out what you want to do. But usually we don't get up there early enough on Friday. So Friday, you just kind of go where the best wind is and hunt that stand. And then Saturday around 11 or noon, I'll check the cameras, and then we'll figure something out for Saturday night. It's funny is Moultrie actually sent me a modem. But if you look at the Verizon network in North Dakota, Verizon works everywhere but where I hunt.
I shouldn't be laughing, but that's kind of funny.
It is funny. You look at the heat map of the red stuff that Verizon has, and the whole state of North Dakota is red. But the one best spot we hunt is no service. I'm like, well, the modem doesn't do me any good. You know, it doesn't work.
Oh, man. Now, what about you were talking about the rut, the gun season during the rut. So you're not hunting whitetails with your bow during the rut then?
Last year I did. I had a gun tag and refused to take my gun with me. Just like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm such an avid bow hunter and would rather shoot a deer with my bow than a gun. And I went to the tree stand, the one tree stand I said where I learned my lesson about, once the leaves are gone and there's no cover, deer are going to see. And that's what happened in this case. I had a nice 10-point come out. He's probably a 150. And what I thought he was going to do, he did the complete opposite. And I just couldn't get a shot off. And he was only about 40 yards away. But that just goes to show if you're planning, make sure you're prepared, because your planning is only going to get you so far, and you kind of got to prepare for every situation. And in that instance, being a young bow hunter, I wasn't prepared for what that deer was going to do, and I never got a shot off on him.
Let's talk about food plots in North Dakota. Do you guys use them, or is enough ag ground that beans and wheat or whatever, it's there so you don't have to plant food plots?
We've kind of dinked with it a little bit. We haven't done a whole lot of it just because there is so much agricultural land, and it's tough to really get where you would want to put a food plot just because there's so much pasture land as well. We can't use up all the pasture land for food plots, but we put one bean plot in this year, and we got a feeder there too, so it's going well. There's bucks hitting it. There's does in there. There's a lot of deer activity, but we don't do a whole lot of food plots. I think as we become more seasoned and really figure out our land, we probably will. I love doing it. It's fun, but it's a lot of time that we don't have, and it's quite a ways away. So we can't really groom the plots the way you probably should if you want it to work the best. So
now you mentioned feeders. Now, can you keep feeders up the whole year, or do they have to come down September 1st, or how's that work?
Yeah, North Dakota, you can feed, and you can feed year round. There's no rules there. But like we learned last year, we kind of fed throughout the whole year, and it's still tough to shoot a buck in North Dakota. It's not easy.
Well, yeah, but you're given the thing about feeding, it isn't so much the killing, it's getting the minerals in them, especially in January, February, and March. You're getting the right minerals so they can grow.
That's absolutely right, and that's pretty much what we do is try to we have our feeder full year round, and it could be a testament to this one deer that we have. I would have put him at a 150, 155 last year, and I think he's going to be a 170, 175 this year. He grew 20 inches, I think, in 1 year. He was a 5x6 last year. He's an 8x6 this year, and his mass measurements are going to be ridiculous. And that could be, he got good nutrition. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, how about give me a shout out? What kind of minerals are you using? Whose minerals do you use?
Yeah, I really like the Big and J. It's got great protein, and they seem to find it pretty quick. That's really about the only mineral we use. We use their powder, their protein, Big and J BB2, or I don't even know the exact name of it. And then we use, early in the season, I'll use that Big and J that are mineral blocks. So we do like the Big and J.
Yeah, if you really get into, the feeding thing, a lot of people down in Texas and stuff, they have to have feeders or they wouldn't shoot a deer. But up where we are, even, Wisconsin and all the things, we're feeding the deer, to grow deer.
Yeah.
Not to shoot them over a feeder. And we have our feeders positioned so they're really not shooter feeders. What they are is feeder, in growing feeders. And if people would think about that more, I think they would grow bigger deer.
I think so too. Yeah, if their mindset is to grow deer rather than shoot deer, absolutely. And that's probably, like I said, North Dakota probably has got good genetics and could have bigger deer if that was the mindset. And I just don't know that it'll ever be that. For bow hunters, maybe it is, but rifle hunting is such a tradition in North Dakota. I don't know that you'll ever get people to think about just the deer age and managing and the deer size of their antlers and whether they're 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 years old. I don't know that that'll ever really be the 100% mindset of most hunters in North Dakota.
And like you said, it's right during the rut, which is, not really helpful for growing big deer because everybody's got a tag. Everybody has a tag. They want to shoot a deer and they're going to shoot a deer and, good for them. I'm happy they're shooting deer, but it's, it's not going to help long-term, grow your deer because even on your dad's farm, Kelsey, you can do everything right, but they go across, just go across the road or whatever, and they're on public land or somebody else's land. Boom,
Yep.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern we have, and that's kind of why we, back to the food plots, is it would be fun to do that, and I think it would drastically increase our chances of holding deer. But you put in all that work, and then they leave. They also got to go is 40 yards, and someone else can shoot them, and there he goes.
Yeah. So when you think about hunting, Celts, what what where's the passion come from for you? I mean, you've been doing it your whole life, but you're still doing it. You're married to a guy, and you got your kids out there in the blind and everything with you. So talk to me about the passion, and talk to women about the passion, because more and more women are getting into the outdoors, not just hunting, but just in the outdoors entirely. So, where's your passion come from, and what would you say to other ladies about hunting?
I think the passion started with just being able to spend quality time with my dad. I mean, that's kind of where it started. I grew up with it. And then, I mean, after you get out there and just watching the wildlife and just being out there, it's such a cool experience. Like the things you get to see that a lot of people don't get to, just spending time out there, and then the camaraderie and the building the relationships, and it's just a really cool experience. And when you bag and buck, that helps too. But
well, yeah, at 14 or 15, that's kind of crazy. So, what would you say to the ladies that are going to be listening to this show who they really like to get into the outdoors, and they listen to my show as well as others to just get a sense of what other women are saying? So, what would you say to them?
Just give it a shot. Don't be intimidated. I know it's kind of a male-dominated thing, but just give it a shot. Ask questions, and just go out there with somebody sometime and see what it's all about.
Now, Nick, when you think about your upbringing, you're a hockey guy, then all of a sudden you're getting to the whitetail, and you're really deep diving into it. What do you want to say to other guys that maybe don't hunt or haven't thought about hunting, and no matter where they are, because there's a lot of guys that their parents never took them hunting, so they really haven't had anybody say, hey, you should do it because. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of what Kel said is get out there, try it, find someone that knows what they're doing, that's interested in it, and learn from them. Your first experience is always probably going to be a lasting memory, and if they have fun, you like it, it's something that might become an addiction or a great sport or a hobby of yours, whatever it might be. Some guys are passionate about it and spend their whole lives revolving around that. I mean, that doesn't have to be everybody. You can just spend a weekend or two, hunting or scouting. You don't have to do it as much as the diehards. But, if you're looking to get into something that's, fun, energetic, adrenaline rush, the reason why I like it from the sport aspect of it and kind of can relate it to being an athlete is the dedication part of it. Like I said, bow hunting is hunting to me, and there's so much that goes into it: the preparation, the scouting, the putting up stands and food plots, and then harvesting the deer is such a little part of it that I almost like everything prior to that is what I've really come to like and fallen in love with. And I think bow hunting will always be a passion of mine. It's funny because my uncle, my dad's brother, is a big bow hunter, and he's been a bow hunter for 40 years. And he took me out once when I did have time in high school one night, and he had a 150 come in, and he hit it, and we just never found it, tracked it. But I wasn't even shooting or cared, and I was like, that was an adrenaline rush. It was cool to see. It was fun to watch, and I, like I said, I never had the time. I was in sports, and I wish I would have listened to him and got into it because it's awesome. It's fun. It's addicting. You can make it whatever you want. Like I said, you can just do it for the camaraderie and show up once in a while, or you can make it a passion and do everything that revolves around it. And there's just so much you can do with deer hunting. It's fun. And now with the access to social medias and the internet and putting yourself out there, and if you want to get into the industry, it's right at the fingertips for you to do it if you want.
Well said. And we talked about the tradition of hunting. Let's talk about the type of gear you guys use on your bows. I know on your photos you have Team Hoyt. You shoot Hoyt bows. Is that what you shoot?
We do. We both shoot Hoyt bows. Yes.
And why did you decide Hoyt over Matthews or just anything else, Prime or whatever else is out there?
For me, it was the smaller access of the bows. They're just the one I chose is a little bit smaller and it just felt comfortable. I hunt, like I said, we do most of our hunting out of ground blinds, and I don't want a 34-inch, axis to axis bow or whatever. So our Hoyts fit us best. I got her one. She liked it. It shot well. And I don't know that some guys would beg to differ, and that's fine. It's an opinion, right? But I don't know that the best bow is what you need. I mean, we don't have all the money in the world to buy $1,000 bow, but what I do like is the sights, and we both have really good sights. And if your accuracy is on, the bows all shoot pretty well these days, so you should be able to put a good shot on a deer.
What kind of broadheads you guys use?
For whitetail, we do the Rage Extreme broadheads. This year, I'm going to use a Slick Trick when I go out west, a fixed blade for elk hunting. Just figure that'd be a better option for elk. And I'm probably going to use that for whitetail this year, just so I don't have to change it up, shoot the same broadhead, and have some consistency there.
Kelsey, what's your setup?
I have the exact same.
So the same broadhead?
Yep, I shoot the Rage, though. I don't have an elk tag, so I don't need to worry about that yet.
Yeah, I heard he should buy a lottery ticket or something.
Yeah, I would say so.
That was kind of funny. Well, he drew a North Dakota deer tag, then he won that whole bow kit or something at some foundation you guys were at, or some banquet. Then he got a Wyoming tag. What else you got? Anything else?
That's it for now.
So he won a fishing trip.
Oh yes.
To northern Saskatchewan.
So we just got back.
Yes.
We just got back 2 weeks ago from a trip, Lawrence Bay Lodge in northern Saskatchewan. It's 1,000 miles straight north of the farm.
Oh my goodness!
And so it was in an ice fishing tournament last winter, and it was a raffle, and it was a very expensive fishing trip, and I won that for two. So the two of us went up to northern Saskatchewan and did a fly in 2 weeks.
Goodness.
Yeah,
well, that's kind of cool.
On our Instagram page, it was a cool experience.
Oh my goodness! Did you catch big Nortons or muskie or walleyes?
It was pike northern. Yeah, they were 40, 50 inches. It was.
Oh my goodness!
It was spectacular.
Oh my god, those are big fish.
Yeah, it was big. They're big.
Oh my goodness. Well, you guys, you're probably going to have a great season then. Hey, let's talk about kids in the outdoors and your support of the kids. Nick was saying that, you helped kids through was it an outdoor foundation? Tell us about that.
The Outdoor Foundation is just kind of a foundation that we joined up with and thought we could help out with. Not so much, there's kids involved there as well, but more importantly, with our own two kids and, for the latter, going forward and what the hunting and fishing industry is and where it's going. And you're starting to see a very big decrease or decline in the number of tags being bought or the number of youth getting involved. For the matter of many reasons, whether it's the lack of interest or there's a lot of other things and options out there nowadays for kids. I mean, social media and all these gadgets and games, most people, when they were 10 or 11 or 12, used to come home and swing on a tire swing set. Play outside. Now it's iPads and games and inside. And so I think, for a broader picture that's hurting the industry, both hunting and fishing. I mean, what supports the DNR? What supports all the wildlife management and lands and plots programs that we have in North Dakota and wildlife management areas is licensing and money. And if you're not buying the license, these industries aren't getting the money that they need to fund it, and people aren't going to get paid, or there's not going to be jobs, or whatever it might be. So I think getting the youth involved that way is the biggest reason why we get our kids involved. Really just kind of save the industry, because the older you get, 65, 70, 75-year-old guys physically can't do it anymore. Some can, but most don't. And then if you're not replacing that with your youth, what do you have? You don't have an industry anymore, and you can't support it. People aren't buying licenses. People aren't buying the equipment. I'm sure some states, I believe, have, tax on anything hunting or anything fishing that goes to funding these organizations and programs. And if people are spending their dollar elsewhere, what's going to happen to the hunting and fishing industry? And my brother is a professional angler. It does a very, very good job of getting the youth involved in angling and fishing. He does summer camps at all of his tournaments that he does throughout the Midwest. 40, 50 kids have come to each seminar, gives them rods and reels, teaches them about aquatic nuisances, casting and rods and reels and boating and water and safety. So he's done a great job there, and we kind of want to follow that footprint in the hunting industry. And we just quite haven't figured it out yet and what to do and how to do it. So we're working on it, but that's kind of why we get the youth involved and why we get our kids involved and why we make it about our family, and hopefully it'll make a positive impact on the industry.
And I love having them out there with us. It's being in the blind with our 10-year-old, and she's shaking just as bad as I am when a big buck comes out. That's cool.
No, I saw her picture. She won some walleye tournament, or she did something. She was getting some kind of reward. What was that?
Yeah,
about?
that was with my brother a couple of weeks ago, and that was it was Ryder, our little boy, and then Addie was with my brother. It's an young angler tournament, and you get to bring 2 youth with you. It's an actual legitimate tournament, and you have a weigh-in, and the winner gets a boat. Second place gets a bunch of rods and stuff like that. And 3 years in a row, my brother's gotten second place. He keeps missing out on that boat.
No way.
Addie got the biggest fish of the tournament. It was like a 6-pound walleye. So
No way.
Yeah, you can see the video on our Instagram page if you want to check it out. It's a pretty good video.
Okay, what's your Instagram page again? Traditions Hunting or Hunting Traditions?
Hunting Traditions is our Instagram. Yeah, Hunting Traditions. But yeah, there's a video. One of our posts is a video of actually Ryder caught a good walleye too, and Ryder's on there as well. But the one Addie and the biggest fish is pretty cool.
Now, did you get a trophy for that, or
she got a plaque and an award? And they both got all rods and reels and lures, and they give a good prize. And obviously, first place is a Lund boat with a 25 horse little motor on it. So it's a good tournament for the kids, that's for sure.
Hey guys, we're at the time in the show that I like to kind of start to wrap up. And if I came up to you and said, well, tell me about the 3 things I need to know about whitetail hunting. And Kels, why don't you go first, and then Nick, you can follow up. So 3 things about whitetail hunt. And I don't know anything. I'm just a guy going, what are the 3 things that I should really think about?
Definitely scouting. I think that would be number 1. Just kind of know where your deer at. Cams, if you can, that definitely helps. Just kind of getting your spots ready, being ready for any shot that you need to take. Those are about the biggest things for me.
By shots, you mean your firing lanes or shooting lanes?
Yeah, out of your blind or stand, just to make sure that you can get any angle, because you never know where they're going to come from.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, just expect the unexpected, I would say, and make sure you've planned and prepared, for every hunt. And the scouting, like she said, is number 1. I'm so big on scouting, where you're going to put your stand or where you're going to put your ground blind, and then using your trail cameras to figure out, if you've got one but you can't see him during daylight, or he shows up when it's just too dark to see, where is he coming from? Your trail cameras can tell you so much information. And don't use just one trail camera. Use 2 or 3 for where they're coming from, where they're leaving, when they show up, when do they leave. The trail camera's got so much information. Pressure, if you follow pressures in the weather and temperature, when is that deer moving, when is he not moving, and then wind. Obviously, don't forget about playing wind direction, because those deer can smell.
Now, in North Dakota, you just mentioned, we talked about trail cameras. Now, do you have to put them up on posts? Because you don't have a lot of trees. So where do you put your trail cameras?
I hammer in a lot of fence posts.
All right. That's what I thought. But I want to, some people, that's a foreign thing for them because there's a zillion trees on their farm. And so they don't have to worry about that. But if you're out in the flatlands or the rolling hills, you have to put in fence posts, right?
Yeah, you put in the green little fence posts, you hammer it in, you tie your camera on there, and it seems to work just fine for us.
Yeah, and the deer don't care?
No.
They some of them will put their nose right on it, and they know it's there, but it doesn't scare them. They keep coming back. They keep looking at it, and as it sits there longer and longer, I think they just say, oh, it's just there. It is what it is. And that goes to putting up blinds too. I'm a firm believer of getting that ground blind out, a month or so before you're going to hunt. And this weekend is probably going to be the weekend we put up at least several ground blinds, just so they can start getting used to it. So when that day opens, they're not scared of it or skittish or it's not something new to them.
Right. They definitely notice that.
Well, guys, time in the show, you can get some shout out, and then we're going to wrap the show.
Yeah, we'd just like to say thanks to our parents. It's kind of why we're here and why we're involved in the industry. And
definitely my dad. I don't think either one of us would be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, he's a legend when it comes to hunting deer, and he's shot some really big ones, and it's fun to learn and talk to him. It's a guy that knows the land over 40 years of experience. You can learn something new every day.
Well, that's great. So on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous and thousands of listeners across North America, thanks you guys for visiting with me on Whitetail Rendezvous this afternoon.
Yeah,
thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
On the next show, we're heading out to Ohio, and we're going to connect with Travis Williams and Travis Shire. And they're with Shedding Light Outdoors. And they're shedding light outdoors in a couple of ways. Travis is a pastor, and he sheds the light of God in the outdoors and everything he does. And the other thing, they shed light on the tips and techniques, which makes them successful whitetail hunters. Sit back, relax. It's going to be a fun show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.